Hi, I'm Joseph Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony and Academy, and I'm very excited to tell you about our next concert pictures and an exhibition. Our program is going to open with a wonderful piece by Richard Wagner, the great opera composer. It's the introduction to Act 3 of Lohengrin. Now, Lohengrin is quite famous because Here Comes the Bride, the bridal chorus, is probably the most famous classical music piece of all time. But we're going to do the opening to Act 3, which gets off very spirited and exciting. It's very virtuosic for our strings and features a low brass and bowl orchestra. It's a great way to start a program. About 3 years ago, I attended a concert here with the Des Moines Symphony that I didn't conduct, which is always a pleasure to hear our wonderful orchestra under a different maestro. And George Mester was in town conducting. His visiting artist was Robert THIES. I was so taken by what he did that night, his maturity and musicianship, and I thought it was time for me to work with this gentleman. He'll be playing the Brahms' second piano concerto. Brahms wrote 2 piano concertos. They are separated by 22 years. The first piano concerto wasn't so successful, but the second was stunning and well accepted by the audience. It's unusual in that it's the first concerto ever written that's in 4 movements rather than the typical 3. The first movement is a typical allegro in B-flat major. It begins with a wonderful horn solo, and then we're off and running with this big, heavy movement. It's quite virtuosic for piano and orchestra. The second movement is the added movement, which is a scherzo. Brahms referred to this as a tiny little scherzo, but it is a monstrous scherzo, full of virtuosity and seriousness, tension and tumultuousness. The third movement is like a song without words. It's beautiful and quiet and slow. It's in B-flat major. And the unusualness of this movement is the fact that he uses a solo cello that interplays with the solo piano. So it's very much like chamber music, and then when the full orchestra does come in, it's beautiful and absolutely sumptuous in terms of sound and melody. And finally, the last movement is just sort of a little series of folk dances. There's 2 themes followed by 3 themes. So you've got an A section with 2 themes, and then a B section, a contrasting section with 3 themes. It's going to be a great performance of this piece, I think, with Robert THIES, and I look forward to conducting it. There's never a time that I've conducted pictures in an exhibition that I don't look forward to it, particularly with this arrangement by Maurice RAVEL. It's a wonderful example of when 2 great geniuses collide. Mussorgsky, of course, composed this piece just for piano in 1874, and it wasn't until 1922 when Koussevitzky, the great conductor, commissioned Ravel to write an orchestration of it. And what an orchestration this is. It's full of wonderful percussion, colors from the winds and the brass and the strings, and it just makes a marvelous piece of music. Pictures of an Exhibition was inspired by the sketches of VIKTOR Hartmann, who was an artist and architect in Russia. He was a very good friend of Mussorgsky's and unfortunately died suddenly at an early age. And Mussorgsky went to an art showing in a gallery of all of his sketches and was so taken by it, he decided to write this piece in his memory and dedicate it to him. He chose 10 different sketches, and part of the genius of this work is that he interspersed a promenade. Sometimes the promenade sets up what's going to happen or what you're going to see or hear on the next picture, and sometimes it's more reflective about what you just heard. That's part of the genius of the piece that makes it connected when you're listening to it. The movements are brilliant. There's the gnome movement, which is this funny little man that has is twisted and grotesque, and the music sounds just like that. There's a wonderful movement called El Vecchio Castillo, which is an Italian castle. Bassoons and saxophone play a very dramatic and slow feeling about this. There's a movement called Tuileries, which is the Tuileries Gardens in France. Maybe my favorite movement, which is the Catacombs. The Catacombs being these dark underground cemetery that Hartmann drew beautifully, and then Mussorgsky set it to music. You can even hear the echoing through the caverns where the brass come in with bold sounds and then echo in a soft manner, which is beautiful. The piece ends majestically with the promenade theme, except it's in augmentation and it's in its great regalia of Russian splendor. It's a stunning piece of music and one that I always look forward to conducting. And I look forward to seeing all of you at our concert on March 4th and 5th at the Civic Center of Greater Des Moines.